Hello, I'm going to give a big ups to all those that are watching right now. And if you are watching this video, it's probably because you've seen the latest Yu-Gi-Oh! Ban list and you want to cook up something a little spicy, something a little different. And for you today, I got exactly the something different you're looking for. What I got is branded Thunder Dragons. So I main branded. It's the deck I like to play. I feel like once you start playing it and get into the combo lines, you don't really want to play anything else. And if you do, it's kind of only to really see what it does. You usually go back to branded at some point or another. It's just a really fun deck to play, in my opinion. But they had to hit it by putting branded fusion to 1. So that's kind of the first part of the catalyst of what made this video. But that's not really too big of a deal for branded players. Like, if you've played the deck for a while or watched some of my playtesting videos, you probably know some of the lines to get branded fusion, not only like very consistently, but also like through droll, through all manner of different means. But something else that happened on the ban list was Thunder Dragon Colossus got put to 2. That got me thinking about making this here spicy little deck profile, you know what I mean? So I'm going to start things off by throwing down 3 of our boy Fallen of Albaz, because this is still a branded deck. I am throwing down 3 of our dude Alubert to go alongside him. And I hope you all like the branded playmat I got going with this. We got the 1 little bird Mercurier. We've got 2 of the Albion, the branded or shrouded dragon. We've got 2 of Cartesia. We've got 1 Quem because I don't really need too big of a deck on normal summons. We have the Despian Tragedy and Ad Libitum. I was thinking of cutting Ad Libitum for a lot of different reasons, but I just ended up deciding like keeping Ad Libitum and the branded and red line in the game because like it's a pretty good line. Moving on to our Thunder Dragon part of it, we got 3 of the basic Thunder Dragon. We have 2 of Thunder Dragon Hawk, and we have 3 of Thunder Dragon Dark. Dark is probably the one you're going to want to see in your hand the most. We'll get into that. But to support the 2 and try and bridge the gap is the Bestials, Bestial Lubellion, Magnemite, Soranir, Andrews Worm. They're all joining the party. And they're all kind of into it for different reasons. Magnemite's a really good card in this deck for the sake of like, it'll search you in the end phase a Bestial so that you can banish your Thunder Dragon Dark that you used for a quick effect search effect. There's some real funny lines with that. Maybe I'll get into them in a playtesting video. Then the rest of the monsters I'll get into in a bit here because they are cross-out targets. Clear the field here a bit. Not sure if I mentioned it yet, but I hope y'all are enjoying the pretty Ecclesia playmat that I got. I think it's pretty nice. We've got 2 Droll. This is also kind of going into spells and tech. 2 Ash. We've got 3 Cross-Out Designator. That is, I guess I'll get that a little bit more on the camera there. It's set up kind of weird in this video for me. But yeah, those are some pretty important cards, especially 2 important cards to have for cross-out targets, because Ash kind of kills branded, and unless you open really well or a really weird hand or the perfect hand, Droll and Lockbird is usually gonna mess with Thunder Dragons pretty hard. So you kind of need to be able to accommodate for either of those weaknesses. Yes, you could play Cross Out instead. It doesn't really help the Thunder Dragon issue, but it does help the branded issue. I'd say the thing about Thrust versus Cross Out is that it's just not as proactive with the way, like when you set fusion duplication, it's not as proactive at all. In my own opinion, each and every time I'd rather just have branded fusion resolve on my own turn and not on my opponent's turn. But that's kind of just that little part of the tech and spells. Main spells that we're going to get into are the Fusion Deployment at a 3. Branded Opening is a 3. Allure of Darkness is a 3. Called By is a 1 to go along with the crossouts that you see in there. We have a Regained, because that is actually sometimes the card you're going to want to set rather than Lost in this build. Sounds crazy, right? But we still have Lost because it's usually the one you want to set. We got the Gold Sark, because Gold Sark basically says in this deck, activate 2 more card effects and you have Thunder Dragon Colossus, or activate 2 more card effects and you have Branded Fusion in your hand. So like Gold Sark is a card you kind of need in this deck. So we got Branded in red, definitely need that fusion spell, it's a really helpful one. And Branded Fusion, the only copy we are allowed to play. So sad. Couple more things we got are 2 Cyclones, because you thought Branded sucks at dealing with back row. Imagine what Thunder Dragon does when you're not playing Titan. Got 2 of the Infinite Impermanence, because it's still one of my favorite cards in the game. It's a really good hand trap going second. It's good at shutting off columns, or it's a good negate for going first. It's like going into turn 3, then turn 4 you can shut off a column for a really like impactful card. Or going turn 2 into turn 3, like I think Imperm's just a really impactful card, no matter what the format is. But now with Apo getting banned, it's kind of a big replacement. So Crossout is also going to be good for Imperm, and it's still going to be good for crossouting any Bestials. You can even regain them, shuffle them back. That's always my favorite trick. Final 2 traps, 2 cards of the main deck are Branded Banishment and Branded Retribution. Branded Retribution has become the Garnet along, like, it's the Ruby of the deck. Like, fucking, you by no means want to see that card in your hand. I've figured out lines that aren't too bad if you do, but you generally do not want to see this card in your hand. You usually want to send it to the graveyard and use it to add back Branded Fusion. Branded Banishment is the card we use to make Light and Darkness Dragonlord, if you don't know. Taking a sip of Pepsi. Who is kind of the most pivotal negate-based monster in this deck. He's a very threatening presence. Whenever he hits the board, he's just a tough one for anyone to have to deal with. I'm going to go over some of the utility of these spells before I get into the extra deck and side deck. I know some people are probably wondering why I'm playing 3 of the Thunder Dragons. It's forever since the start of the game always been a deck thinning tool. Like ever since Metal Raiders came out, it's how you thin your deck. And it's also like what you get when you need cards to discard. What does this do? What does he do? Who I'm also going to talk about in a second. Like, you need discards. You need things to discard for cost in Branded. And that is exactly what you're going to get with Thunder Dragon. He will freely get you 2 more of himself. Which, if you don't get drolled, is actually comes up a lot. Then have 3 Elbas and the 2 Cartesias. The reason I'm talking about these guys here, right beside Fusion Deployment, is very obvious. Cartesia, after you pitch the 1 Thunder Dragon to get the 2 more, she can just fuse into Colossus. That's busted. Or you can Fusion Deployment, get your Thunder Dragon onto the field. Or if you did Branded Opening and you haven't normal summoned yet, you can just normal summon Tribute over something. Like, it's stupid how good that is. And the fact that you now have an extra target for Fusion Deployment, it's wicked. As I mentioned, you need the discard for Elbaz. That usually comes up. She can even fuse the both of them into Albion. Or we'll get into the other cards that are going to be pretty cool a little bit later on. Kind of explaining some main deckness right now. Obviously, we got Branded Opening for these 2. Really self-explanatory. I guess the glare really didn't help that. For these 2, Aluber and Quem. So we'll kind of just put them right there. Let me get these guys. I'd say the third really neat piece of synergy, that this deck has, like Brandon and Thunder Dragons, is Allure of Darkness. Really bridges the gap. I kind of mentioned with opening and deployment how Thunder Dragon OG can be a really useful monster. Thunder Dragon Dark with Allure of Darkness. That's insane. I mentioned before how Allure of Darkness plus 2 effects makes Colossus. Well, you would hit Gold Sark plus 2 effects makes Colossus. That is the card you're going to banish with Gold Sark. And that's going to search you this card, which would be Thunder Dragon Hawk. Now, Hawk, you discard it. That's the activated effect in hand of a Thunder Dragon, or a Thunder Monster, sorry, to special summon your currently banished Thunder Dragon Dark. So now that is an activated effect to get you a monster on the field. Basically Colossus, like everything you need to make Colossus. But like, then to add to boot, Branded already is one of the better decks to need to send cards for like Gold Sark or Allure of Darkness, like Mercury and whatnot. Damn, that light is really not doing me any favors. So like, Tragedy, like you'd do Allure or Gold Sark with Tragedy, you basically just went +3 in card advantage. Like, it's insane. Same with Mercury. Like, as well, you now have 5 targets that you can draw into if you have to, that are really positive to banish. So, like, that's one line of it. The other really cool part of it is Albion, to make Lubellion, to make Mirror Jade, you need to banish a dark monster. Why not that one? If he needs to be banished to search this, it's like you were supposed to do it, man. Like, this deck is crazy. I've had a lot of people tell me that this is probably the best deck I've cooked up yet, and I'm very inclined to agree. Especially after sorting out all the kinks and everything. I took it to a tournament. It was kind of thin, but I can't really call it a tournament because they literally shut down the tournament as soon as all of the Yu-Gi-Oh players got there. Like, no, we're doing Magic today instead. Like, literally 5 people showed up to play Magic all day, whereas, like, there were 8 people there to play Yu-Gi-Oh for legit 2 hours. It's like, you guys really fumbled on that one. That's a little side story. We'll get the 2 Mirror Jades, because there's been a lot of changes with the ban list. I think that something is going to come up where Cash Tira is going to be a thing. So my deck is going to start kind of tailoring a little bit more to Cash Tira if it continues. As well, Appaloosa getting banned, that's pretty cool. Like, we can do a lot more and we can afford a lot more. We've got 2 Albions and the 1 Lubalion, the entire starter deck combo there. We've also got Rinbrum and Titanicloud, the 2 best cards you want to send for Mirror Jade, like, no doubt. We got Grand Wignall and the Despian Quiritus that the Grand Wignall can tag out to. I'll tell you something, like, there have been a lot of times, and there will be times if you try this deck where it may brick, but the bricks can still be good. Like, normal summon freaking Quem. Quem gets negated. You set Super Poly or something from the side deck, or like after you sided it in. Flip the fucking Super Poly. Fuse into this guy. Having discarded Tragedy. Then this guy's gonna get popped. And then you are going to get Elbaz to get this. So, like, even from a really bricky, crappy hand, you can still get a Mirror Jade on your opponent's turn. If you play your cards right. Chimera, because his effect is still super good. It still comes up. You can't really get rid of it. We got the 2 Super Poly targets while I was talking about Super Poly. We got Garura and Predaplant Dracostapelia, because why not? They're really good at getting materials back into your extra deck as well when you need to do a fusion summon. We will get the Light and Darkness Dragon Lord. This guy is super good. Like, when you hit this guy and any other boss monster in the deck on the field at the same time, it really changes the way your opponent has to play the game. Like, they either need a Kaiju, they need Super Poly, they need Dark Ruler no more, or they need Droplet. Like, they cannot out the maximum board. And then we'll got 2, because we can, of the Thunder Dragon Colossus. Take another sip of Pepsi. But yeah, like, having Mirror Jade, Colossus, and Light and Darkness Dragon Lord on field, that's insane. Let me get these guys right there. These 3 dudes together are insane. And they're so free in this deck. You can make these guys, at least 2 out of 3 of those guys, every turn if you play this right. And if you don't get interrupted, you're good to go. Even if you do get interrupted, you're still ending on at least one of them, you know? Because your op's got to waste the 1 interruption just to stop the 1/2. And then, if their hand's full of hand traps, then you know that you just burned through every card in their hand. Like, what do you got to fear? Side deck, we've got 2 DD Crows, because DD Crow I think is still going to be pretty good this format. You've got 1 of the Thunder Kaiju, because he's Thunder. He's a Thunder monster. We can, as I said with Cartesia, we can fusion him with a normal Thunder Dragon. Got 2 Spellbound. If you are going against a Link deck, this just shuts that shit right off. Like, what are you gonna do, buddy? Or like a synchro-based deck, and you play it right at the right time, it's pretty much just pass. We got Feather Duster, same reason we play Cyclone in the main. We've got 3 of the Forbidden Droplet, because Droplet is one of the coolest cards in the game, but it's got some uses. It's got sometimes you don't really need it. Sometimes you really, really wish you had it, and so that's why it's in the side deck. You've got Super Poly there as a 3 of for literally the same exact reason. Sometimes you encounter boards or situations that you just don't really think that you can clap back from naturally with the deck. So you kind of need that extra little bit of sauce. Like, it's very rare that it happens, but it's a good thing to have it as a utility. Like, and you got a lot of cards you can side out too. We've got 1 more Infinite Impermanence, because sometimes you need 1 more. Got 2 of the Black Goat Laughs. Say if you're going against your opponent, I've said it before, I'll say it again. If you hit Black Goat Laughs on round 3 of a game and you lose, you suck. This card is like busted. It would, like, there are times where if this is literally the only card you have to play, you can still come out of it. Like, Black Goat Laughs, and because it's a Luber's Mask, it's just such a worthy card in this deck. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed seeing the main, the side, and the extra for the branded Thunder Dragon formula. I'm gonna get my dudes set up for a thumbnail, and that will be that. You don't need to play this exact profile. This was more so meant to give people ideas. I know with grass coming out, I might even like try to do a grass variant of branded when I can find a copy of grass. I might even just keep playing this same deck with an added copy of grass. I know that we're all trying to like do something else, and I think that that was something healthy that the Banlist did for Yu-Gi-Oh! Was it made it a lot more possible for people to try new things and experiment and see what actually works, you know? And I've had a lot of compliments on this one. Here's hoping you try it and you get the same reviews. Anyways, peace out for now, and I hope you enjoy.